All right, good morning. Welcome back to the shop. It's the two-stroke turbo channel, in case you're confused. And there seems to be more and more of these French cars. You start working on one and another one shows up. I've been working on this Dauphine very diligently. It's been bothering me. The brakes are all seized up. It's taken a while to figure out what's going on with it. And I'll add some clips of what I found here a little later on. But these calipers are just crazy. I don't know. They have adjustment screws on the back, which seem to do absolutely nothing. They have e-brake levers that simply just, when they're pulled, creates a fulcrum and pushes on the pad, which actually is a pretty good design. But you have to adjust them with this big nut here so they don't get too tight, and then you rotate this out. There's a lot of little French, what do you call it, inconsistencies, little quirky French brakes. Nobody seems to know how to work on these. It's a 2-year deal only. They have round seals and square cut seals. I have put the round seals back in it, and you can see I now have spinning free wheels. They're not locking up. I had to shave the backs of the brake pads down to get them to release. I think my problem was actually self-caused, and that is I put the wrong washer inside the caliper adjuster here on the inside of this. It was too thick. It was 1 millimeter too thick, and it pushed the piston out and caused it to drag. Now, if the pads were wore down, it wouldn't be a problem. These are new pads. They're new, hardly have any use. So it accounts for pad wear. But I don't know, things just driving me crazy. So I'm getting ready to take off the last caliper and rebuild it. It's kind of crusty, it's kind of grimy. It's a lot of work. You got to pull off this bracket here that centers on this pin with a rubber gumby on the axle. It's kind of crazy. Take off this big nut, spin this out, get that bracket off, release the hose, get the bleeder cleared out, get the hose cleared out, get the inside of the caliper cleared out, scrape the inside of the where the seal goes, the seal chamfer ridge deal, shave the back of the pads, put it back together, and Stella is bored. And I'm probably boring you with all these little details, but I think I fixed it. I think that's going to work. I put the master cylinder back together. I have not yet bled it. That will be the test, of course, but I got to get this off the rack to get this on the rack. Another French car. Okay, we're working on our Dauphine. It's running a little rough. I got the valve cover off. And if you look at this valve right here, this one right here, it's stuck. I gotta see if I can loosen that up somehow. Stuck open. All right, so we're working on a lot of stuff here at the two-stroke turbo shop. First off, we got to pet the dog, little lick for luck, and working on our Dauphine. We got our wheel wells all cleaned up and spiffed up with some undercoating. Those look really good. It was bothering me because they're oversprayed white. Well, that looks nice. Still work on the brakes. I've got to take the calipers apart, figure out why the brakes are sticking. Let's go over here to the restoration side and see what's going on. Oh yeah, look at that. We've got 2 coats of SPI epoxy primer now curing on the car. I've got a 7-day window on this before paint, so hopefully I can do that. It looks good, looks shiny. The shiny primer now shows me all the defects that I thought that I got. There's a couple of dents and runs and things that I missed, so I'm gonna have to touch those up. Also, as a bonus, I epoxied my floor. No extra charge. I should have papered the floor. Didn't think about it, but it's really a sticky stuff, like a Christmas tree flocking. But the body looks pretty good. Other than a couple runs that I could point out to you, it came out fine. And that's just because my metal temperatures are cold. I got a nice waterfall run there and one on the back. But overall, it looks really good. I'm really happy. It's shiny, and I'm going to scuff it back up again before base. I may give it one more coat of primer. So this is the 5th coat of primer, 5th round of blocking. You would not believe how many little dents and dings I found in this thing, and it's just the way it is. Stella does not want to hear me jibber-jabbing about doing body work. She just wants to go home and have dinner. But I'm going to stay here for a little while and watch the wet paint dry. Okay, you're probably getting me tired of, you're probably tired of me complaining about my brakes dragging. I've checked my hoses, they're new, taken the master cylinder apart, got the calipers apart. Look the funkiest calipers. This is a Renault Dauphine caliper. It has a square seal retainer or seal, what do you call that, cut, but yet a round. I have 2 sets of seals here for rebuild kits, round ones and square lip seals. So the round ones were in it, but they weren't working. I guess I'm going to go with the square ones. Super weird piston design. Has a stud on one end that is loose and spins. So I don't know how the piston goes in and out. I'm frustrated with the French here. So we're going to put it together with the square seals and see if I can make it retract or exercise it in some way. That's the plan. Hi, Stella. Oh, you're all fired up. I forgot to fire up you guys and let you know how easy it is to change brakes on a Renault Dauphine. This is a 66 Dauphine. You just pull out the pins. See if I can get the pin puller going here. There's one. Of course, you don't want to drop them all over the floor. There's big R clips. You pull out both the R clips. If you can't, there we go. Stuck one. Let's see if I can get that. There we go. And then you set those to the side. Your caliper. All right, these are stuck. So that's the problem with my calipers. They're stuck on. You got to flip these guys up. Flip this one down, take the rubber out. There's a piece of rubber in there for insulator. Piece of rubber in here. Where is it? That's right there. Take that rubber out. You want to save those. Then you can get the caliper out if it's not stuck. If it's stuck, you got to get a screwdriver. Let me get that. Okay. Let's see if we can get that out of there now. This one is definitely stuck. Okay, you get almost all the way out so you don't drop your pads. Simple little guys. So, I didn't want to do that. There are 2 indentations on the outer pad, one there, one there. They correspond with those 2 pegs there. And there's 1 indentation on the inner pad, which I dropped and it chunked off a little bit. And that goes in that hole right there. So the inner pads and outer pads are different. So what I've been finding on these things is the seal that goes around the stainless steel piston is all gummed up. It's got a bunch of coagulated brake fluid in there, and it's not allowing the calipers to return. Thank goodness, because each one of these calipers is $400 remanufactured. I'm not going to spend that. So I'm almost positive. Well, my hoses are good. They don't have any use on them. They're 10 years old, but they are new, or were new. Calipers were rebuilt, but the car sat for a while, and then the brakes started locking up. So cleaned out the master cylinder, couldn't find any problems there, put on a new reservoir, and now I'm working on cleaning the calipers. And I'll take this apart and show you how it works once I get disconnected here. Okay, we're now on the top side of our Dauphine. Going to go through our reservoir deal here. This was the reservoir that was on the car. Little tiny little nipple like that, and not a good sealed cap. Really not a good way to have or store brake fluid on your Dauphine. It's supposed to be a glass jar with a little nipple on the bottom. The glass jar is long gone. It's shattered, broken in the trash heap someplace. This looks a little hokey, but it's all I can do for right now. This is Teflon coated brake fluid resistant hose that clamps onto copper tubing, and I made a flare fitting there, kind of like a something for the hose to grab onto. That should work. It's much better. It's not perfect, but it's all I can do for right now. And then underneath the car, we got the master cylinder back together. Let's go underneath our Dauphine. And I'm gonna lay down here. I had to notch out the frame a little bit to give the wires for the brake light switch a little room. They were pinched, and to get the thing together, that brake light switch is about 4 inches long, about that long, and I couldn't get it in there. So our brake master cylinder is back together. I didn't rebuild it, but I took it completely apart, cleaned it, checked the relief valve. We should be good to go. So that brings us to our next adventure, making sure that all the wheels spin free. We're gonna bleed this thing, and you know what? It's gonna work. I know it's gonna work. Oh, please tell me it's gonna work.